Hello, welcome to Simon's Shed. It's time for a Bodenham Woods layout update. Yes, that's right, I did say it was finished, but I've got a few more bits to tell you about to round it off. So, coming up, a few little additions, and what have we learned? Okay, I decided I would add a couple of new kinds of trees just to give a bit of variety. So you can see these that look like silver birches to me. They are, if I can get this in shot, the Woodland Scenics Water's Edge trees. These ones are the 2 to 3 inch ones, and they look rather good. There are only 4 in the box, so the other one's just up there. So rather a pricey way to do it, but if you dot a few around, then they're not too bad. They look great, so yeah, just plonk those in. Now the others are K&M Country Scene poplar trees, 50mm, and these work out a bit more cost effective, and I think they look really good. And just it is something you would see typically a sort of row of them like that used as a sort of boundary line. I did have to, I think what I actually did to get them to work in N scale, the trunks were very chunky, so I just cut those off and stuck them straight into the ground, so you can see there's no trunks at the bottom. But you do get sort of conifers and stuff that do look like that, so yeah, I think they look pretty good. I managed to pretty much stand them up straight in a line. Well, it does sort of curve around that area, but you know what I mean, they're upright. So yeah, pleased with those. And I decided it had been far too long since I built a scale scenes kit, so I bought the little coal office kit, which you can see the office building there, and it comes with the coal staiths. I think they're called staiths, aren't they? The little boards that hold the coal. And I got some real Black Country coal. Literally, I stole it from the stole a piece from the Black Country Museum when we were there recently. So crushed that up, and it looks pretty good in there. Yeah, apart from that, the only other little changes, found a couple of bits underneath that I hadn't soldered. I hadn't actually finished the soldering for the lights, so I've finished that off, and I've ordered a couple more of those multi-voltage adapter things, so that I can control the 3 sets of lights separately, and I've got all the wiring ready to come out of here with 3 separate sets of wires for the 3 sets of lights. So just tidying up, finishing off, and adding a few more details really. Okay, so what, if anything, have we learned in the process of building this layout? Well, we've certainly had a lot of fun and some ups and downs. I think we'll start at the beginning, i.e. the baseboards. So the 9mm MDF I used for the main baseboard has worked well in that it's held its shape really well. It's rock solid, it hasn't warped at all or anything like that. It is a bit heavy. I have had to lug the baseboard up and down from the shed to the house a few times, and it's been quite heavy, but the other side of that is that it's been really solid. It hasn't bent at all, so we'll call that bit a success. I think you can just see there the next part, which is the foam underlay. Now that was the grey foam, I think it's 2.5mm foam that goes underneath wood flooring, underneath laminate flooring. It's just the standard B&Q laminate underlay foam, and that was a bit of it's certainly not in the textbook, let's say, but it's worked well. I think it keeps the noise down for a start, in terms of the train is obviously not running directly on the wooden boards, and I suspect it's helped slightly with the heat, because as it gets really hot and really cold in here, the track can move a little bit on top of the foam, i.e. it can stretch the top of the foam so it doesn't tend to warp the track. I've had no problems at all with the track warping, and it has got really hot in here, so that's worked pretty well. Next, the track itself. If you remember, I used code 55 Pico track, flexi track, and code 55 Pico points, and worked okay. One thing I definitely would do differently next time is to use the track setter, which are little guides for making certain radius curves with flexi track. It's very difficult, I now know, to get a nice smooth curve, even if it looks smooth to the eye, without using the track setter tool, so I'll definitely use that next time. And I would definitely try and avoid doing a join on a curve. So from a flexi track you can see a little kink there. That one's not too bad, but I would always try and design my track plan so that the joins are all on a straight bit or a very gentle curve, because that's where you it just makes it more difficult for yourself to join the track up, basically, and it makes it more likely that you're going to get kinks in the track and get problems with running. I managed to straighten that up now so that it does actually work fine. One thing I do recommend, and I'm really glad I did, is sort of reining in your ideas at the start. If it's your first layout, it's easy to get carried away. This is only sort of 1.2 meters by 0.8, and it's just a double loop with some sidings coming off. So I'm really glad I kept it simple, because it means you can see some progress pretty quickly and get a sense of where you're going, rather than having dozens and dozens of points to connect up and wire point motors to, and you suddenly start to realise that it's going to massively cost more than you thought. So yeah, keep it simple. You can always build the big extravagant layout later on. One thing I would say, if you are starting out from scratch, i.e. you've got no locos, no rolling stock, after you've got your first starter set, I would actually get a few more locos. Just collect 5 or 6 different locos first. And the reason I say that is, as I was building this layout, laying the track, I was obviously testing all the points were nice and smooth for the loco to run over, and all the track work was fine and level and so on. But to do all that testing, I used my only locos at the time, which was the Class 24 from Farish and the Deltic DP1 prototype from also from Farish, and they are very well behaved runners. They run very smoothly, and they're very forgiving on track curves that are slightly too tight and so on, whereas something like the B1 down there is a lot fussier. So if you've got a range of locos to test it on, then you'll know which is your fussiest runner, and you can run that around the track and give it a better test of whether the track work is okay. One thing I'm pleased with is the static grass, the way that's turned out. Although I would say you can really get away with going over scale on the static grass. I tried to work out sort of scale length of grass, but when you actually put it down, you find that the longer stuff, even though you work it out and it would really be like 2 foot tall grass, it actually doesn't look that overscale when you put it down. So and I used the sort of electric T-strainer type of static grass applicator, which has been okay for my purposes. It's worked perfectly fine. So pleased with how that's turned out, but yeah, don't be afraid to go a bit over scale with your static grass in terms of the length of the fibres. So a quick word on buildings. The two main ones you can see there, the signal box and the brewery, are Metcalfe kits. They're really easy to build, really quick to build, and I've weathered these up a little bit. And you can see I think they look pretty effective. They're not massively detailed. If we were to be cruel and shine a light into that signal box, you would see that the back wall isn't, you know, like a signal box interior, so you got to add your own detail or put up with the fact that it's not quite as detailed as it could be. The other option is the scale scenes kits, which are really detailed, such as the barn here and the station and goods shed there. But they are a lot more detailed, but they do take a lot longer to build and require a lot more patience. So it's really down to personal preference, I guess, in terms of how much time you're prepared to spend and how much fun you have building the kits. Completely the other end of the scale, of course, is to just buy something like that, which is a Scenecraft Backman row of cottages, and just plonk it down. There is a certain satisfaction in that, but it's not quite the sense of achievement of actually building a whole card kit yourself. And finally, airbrushing. Really not as scary as I thought it would be. I would encourage you to have a go with an airbrush. You can get a cheap starter set for about 60-70 quid, and it's certainly worth having a play with, because you can get quite a few good effects. I've weathered the track with mine, and you can see the effects on the above the doors there that I've done with the airbrush too. I guess in summary then, the conclusion really is try everything out, because there's such a wide range of things that you can do in this hobby, from, you know, carpentry and building things to electronics, computer control, to obviously running the trains, building the track, designing the layout, the track plans, building the buildings, weathering. The list, you know, is almost endless. So the main thing I would say is try everything out and find what works for you and what part you enjoy, and focus on that, and keep having fun. So once again, I'll say that that is the last Bodenham Woods layout update type video, but we shall see. I really need to update my channel trailer, and I've got a few ideas for other bits and bobs to do. Perhaps a beginner's introduction, almost like an advert for Engage, to try and get people into the hobby. I think that would be a good idea for me to do something like that. Still thinking about a new layout, but I can't really start it until A, I've had a good tidy up in here. It's a bit of a mess. And B, I really need to insulate all these walls before I do anything else, because if I'm going to run a layout along here, for instance, I won't be able to insulate the walls after I've put the baseboards against the wall. So yeah, probably not going to do a series of videos on that, because it's not very exciting watching me insulate a shed, but I might do a brief update on that. But we shall see. Until then, have fun, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you soon.